My name is Elena Brooks, and 18 years ago, I made a decision that would cost me everything I thought my life was supposed to be. But it gave me everything that actually mattered. If you've ever been the one people rely on but never celebrate, yeah, this story is for you. Before we get into it, go ahead, hit like, subscribe, and drop where you're watching from. I read every comment. Now, let me take you back. It was 1:47 in the morning when my phone rang. Not a text, not a notification, a call. Nobody calls at that hour unless something is wrong. I picked up, half asleep. "Elena, you need to come home." It was my mom. Her voice wasn't panicked. That would have been easier. It was controlled, cold. Like she had already decided something and I just didn't know it yet. I drove 35 minutes in the dark, headlights cutting through empty streets, heart pounding for reasons I couldn't explain. When I walked into the house, everything felt off. The kitchen light was on. My dad was standing near the sink, arms crossed, staring at nothing. My mom sat at the table, and my younger sister, Kayla, was nowhere to be seen. "What happened?" I asked. No one answered right away. Then my mom slid a piece of paper across the table. I looked down. Ultrasound. 16 weeks. My stomach dropped. Kayla's pregnant. Just like that. No emotion, no softness, just facts. I sat down slowly. "Does she want the baby?" I asked. My mom didn't even look at me. She doesn't know what she wants. Translation: her opinion didn't matter. And then my mom said the sentence that changed everything. "We can't let this ruin her future." Not, "we need to support her," not, "how do we help her?" No, "we can't let this ruin her future." I remember looking at my dad, waiting, hoping he'd say something. Anything. He didn't. He just nodded. He always nodded. And that's when I realized this wasn't a conversation. This was a plan. Kayla came downstairs a few minutes later. Oversized hoodie, red eyes, shaking hands. She looked like a kid because she was a kid. I sat next to her. "What do you want?" I asked quietly. She didn't answer. She just whispered, "I don't want to mess everything up." That's when my mom stood up. "You're not going to," she said. Then she turned to me. "Elena, you're going to take the baby." Not asked, not suggested, decided. I was 23. I had just been accepted to grad school, full scholarship, new apartment, new life, a plan. And in one sentence, it was gone. I laughed, not because it was funny, because it didn't feel real. "You're serious?" My mom walked to the hallway and came back with something folded, a small blanket, yellow, faded, like it had been waiting for something, or someone. "You've always been the responsible one," she added. There it was. The label I had carried my whole life. Reliable, strong, the one who figures it out. Which, in my family, really meant the one who sacrifices. That night, I drove back home with that yellow blanket sitting on my passenger seat. I hadn't said yes, but I hadn't said no either. And sometimes, silence becomes your answer. 2 weeks later, I called my mom. "I'll do it." Just like that. No drama, no tears, just a quiet decision that would rewrite my entire life. I withdrew from grad school the next morning. No one tried to stop me. No one said, "Are you sure?" They just let me. He was born on August 3rd, 6 pounds 7 ounces, loud, angry, alive. The nurse asked, "Who's taking him home?" Kayla turned her head away. My mom stayed silent, and I said, I am. If you thought that was the hard part, nah, that was just the beginning. Because raising a child isn't just about surviving the early years. It's about everything that comes after. The questions, the truth, the people who suddenly remember you exist when it's convenient. By the time Mason was 13, yeah, his name is Mason, he had already outgrown me in height. Same quiet eyes, same way of observing everything before speaking. He wasn't loud, he wasn't dramatic, he just noticed things. And kids like that, they don't miss much. It started small, little questions. Why doesn't Grandma ever come over? Why don't we visit them? Why do they introduce me weird, like I'm not really yours? I used to brush it off, say things like, they're just different, or families are complicated. But the truth? I was buying time, because I knew one day I wouldn't be able to soften it anymore. That day came on a Sunday afternoon. Hot, quiet. We were sitting on the porch. He had a notebook in his hand. He'd been writing a lot back then. Didn't show me what, just wrote. Thought. Processed. Then he looked up and said, "Can you just tell me the truth? Like, all of it?" No hesitation. No fear. Just ready. So I told him. Everything. The phone call, the ultimatum, the yellow blanket, the papers, the silence, the choice. I didn't make anyone a villain, didn't sugarcoat either. Just facts, one after another. The way life actually happened. When I finished, he didn't cry, didn't yell, didn't even react right away. He just nodded slowly, stood up, and walked inside. Closed his door. And for 2 days, nothing. No questions, no anger, just silence. Those were the longest 48 hours of my life. Because when someone you love is processing something that big, you don't know what version of them is coming back. On the third morning, he walked into the kitchen like normal, sat down, started eating cereal, like nothing happened. Then he looked at me and said, "I'm not mad." I blinked. Okay. I just feel bad for her. For Kayla? He nodded. She missed everything. That was it. That was his conclusion. Not anger, not rejection, just clarity. And I realized something in that moment. I hadn't just raised a kid. I had raised a man. But life doesn't let you just have peace like that. Not for long. When Mason turned 16, things started shifting. Not in our house. We were solid. But outside? Yeah. That's where things got messy. It started with a message. Not to me, to him. Instagram. From an account with a perfect profile picture and a curated life. Kayla. "Hey, I know this might be weird, but I'm your mom. I've thought about you every single day. I'd love to see you." 3 heart emojis, a smiley face, like she was texting someone she lost touch with, not someone she gave up. He showed me the message, didn't reply yet, just said, "What should I do?" And right there, that moment, it mattered. Because I could have said, "Ignore her," or "She doesn't deserve you," or even worse, "Let my hurt decide his future." But I didn't. I looked at him and said, "That's your choice, not mine." He studied me for a second, like he was checking if I really meant it. Then he nodded, sat down, and typed, "Hey, I appreciate you reaching out." That was it. Simple, respectful, distant. She replied instantly, "I'm coming to your graduation. I can't wait to see you." Not, "If that's okay," not, "Can we talk first?" Just, "I'm coming." That's when I knew this wasn't about him. This was about her. Her timing, her image, her story. A week later, I found out the rest, not from her, of course not, from my mom. "Elena," she said over the phone, like we talked regularly, which we didn't, "Kayla's coming into town." "I know." "She's bringing someone." Pause. Okay. He's serious, very successful, wants a family. There it was, the real reason. Not reconnection, not healing, a performance. Then she said it, the sentence that made everything crystal clear. This could be Kayla's chance to finally have everything. Her chance. Not Mason's, not mine, hers. I didn't argue, didn't raise my voice. I just asked one question. Does he know the truth? Silence. Then, he knows what he needs to know. I almost laughed, because yeah, that's exactly how my family worked. Selective truth, convenient memories, rewritten history. That night, I sat on my bed, opened the small lockbox I hadn't touched in years. Inside, documents. Signed, stamped, dated. Proof. Every single piece of reality they tried to blur. And underneath it, that yellow blanket, still there, still soft, still holding every version of us that ever existed. I closed the box, and for the first time, I didn't feel anxious. I felt ready. Because this wasn't about fighting anymore. This was about standing still and letting the truth walk into the room on its own. 2 weeks before graduation, Mason came home quieter than usual, set his phone down in front of me. "Read this." It was a group chat, family, not including me, of course. Messages going back months, maybe years, talking about him, like he wasn't a person, like he was temporary. When Kayla is ready, she'll take him back. Elena's just been helping. Honestly, she should be grateful. Grateful. I read that word 3 times just to make sure it didn't change. It didn't. I looked up at Mason. "Why didn't you show me this before?" He shrugged. "I didn't want you to get hurt." 17 years old and protecting me. I didn't cry. Didn't call anyone, didn't react the way they probably expected I would. Instead, I made dinner, like always. Because some strength, it doesn't scream. It just continues. But something inside me shifted that night. Not anger, not even pain, just clarity. Graduation was coming, and for the first time in 18 years, everyone was going to be in the same place, same room, same moment, same truth. And what they didn't know, Mason had been writing something for weeks, maybe months. Late nights, closed door, quiet focus. I asked once, "Can I hear it?" He smiled a little. "You'll hear it when everyone else does." That's when I knew whatever was coming wasn't small. Graduation day didn't feel real. It felt like one of those moments life builds up quietly, for years, and then drops all at once. I woke up before my alarm, 5:12 a.m. House was silent. For a second, I just sat there, listening, because I knew, after today, something was going to change. I just didn't know how much. Mason came downstairs around 7, dressed, calm, too calm, like someone who had already made peace with something the rest of us didn't even understand yet. "You good?" I asked. He grabbed a piece of toast. "Yeah, I'm solid." That was his phrase, "I'm solid." And usually, when he said that, it meant he was carrying more than he was showing. We didn't talk much on the drive. Didn't need to. Some moments don't need words. They just exist. The gym was packed, Families, flowers, phones out, proud smiles everywhere. The kind of day people wait their whole lives for. We found our seats, third row, perfect view of the stage, perfect view of everything that was about to happen. And then they walked in. Kayla, like she was stepping onto a stage, perfect dress, perfect hair, perfect smile. And next to her, him. Tall, sharp suit, confident. The kind of man who's used to believing what he's told. Behind them, my parents. And in my mom's hands, a cake. White frosting, pink letters. Even from where I was sitting, I could read it. Congrats from your real mom. Yeah, that stung. Not because I didn't know the truth, but because they really thought they could rewrite it. In public, in front of everyone. I didn't move, didn't react. Claire, my best friend, grabbed my hand. You okay? I nodded. I've been okay for a long time. Before the ceremony started, Kayla made her move, walked straight to the student line, smiled at the staff. I'm his mom. And just like that, they let her through, because technically she wasn't lying. She hugged Mason, tight, dramatic, the kind of hug meant to be seen. But Mason, he didn't hug back. His arms stayed at his sides, still, controlled. Then she turned and walked toward me, every step loud, intentional, like she had practiced this. She leaned in, close enough for people around us to hear. Elena, thank you for taking care of him all these years. Pause, smile, but I'm here now. Right, 18 years reduced to a sentence. I didn't answer, not because I didn't have something to say. I had years things to say. But then I looked at Mason, standing there, watching me, and in his eyes, one message, clear as day. Wait. So I waited. The ceremony started. Speeches, names, clapping. The usual. Everything felt normal. Too normal. Like the calm before something bigger. Then they called his name. Mason Brooks. Everything went quiet in my head. He walked across that stage, steady, confident, took his diploma, and then, instead of sitting down, he walked to the podium. Valedictorian speech. He adjusted the mic, looked out at the crowd, took a breath. Good morning. His voice? Strong. Clear. Exactly how I taught him. He started simple. Funny stories, school memories, teachers, friends. The crowd laughed, relaxed. Kayla smiled, leaning into her date. She thought this was her moment. Then Mason paused, looked down at his paper, held it there for a second. Then he folded it, set it aside. And that's when everything changed. I wrote a speech, he said. But this morning, I realized something. The room got quiet. The real quiet. The kind you feel. The most important thing I want to say isn't on that page. You could hear people shifting in their seats, phones lifting. Something was happening. Everyone knew it. There's someone I need to talk about today. He looked out into the crowd. Then he found me. She was 23 when her life got flipped upside down. My chest tightened. She had plans, dreams, a future already lined up. Pause. And she gave it all up, without hesitation. Silence. Complete silence. She didn't know how to raise a kid. Light laughter. She figured it out anyway. My hands started shaking. 3 hours of sleep, 2 jobs, 1 tiny apartment. He smiled slightly. Dollar store diapers and Christmas gifts wrapped in newspaper. A few people gasped. Some nodded. Because, yeah, they knew that struggle. She never complained. His voice dropped a little. Not once. Kayla's smile? Gone. She showed up to everything, every game, every meeting, every moment. I couldn't breathe right. She taught me how to be a man, how to stand up straight, how to tell the truth, even when it's uncomfortable. Then he said it, the line that changed everything. She's not the woman who gave birth to me. Pause. But she is my mother. The room exploded. Clapping, people standing, some crying. I didn't move. I couldn't. I was frozen, trying to hold a moment that felt too big to fit in my chest. She chose me, Mason continued. Every single day, without recognition, without support, without quitting. He looked straight at me. She's the reason I'm standing here. Then he said my name. Elena Brooks, that's my mom. I broke, completely. No holding it in, no staying composed. Just tears. Years of them. Behind me, I could feel the shift. Kayla sitting still, her phone recording nothing, her reality cracking. The speech ended, but the moment, that stayed. Outside, everything unraveled. Kayla came at me first, angry, sharp. What did you tell him? I stayed calm. I didn't have to tell him anything. Mason stepped in. I said what I meant. Simple, direct, final. Then she tried. I'm your mother. And he didn't even flinch. You gave birth to me. Pause. She raised me. Game over. Then her date, the perfect guy, stepped forward, quiet until now, but paying attention the whole time. You said you were forced, he said. Kayla froze. You said you didn't have a choice. Silence. Did you sign those papers willingly? She couldn't answer, not really, and that was enough. He looked at me, then at Mason, then back at her, and just like that, he was done. No yelling, no drama, he just walked away. And sometimes that silence hits harder than anything. Kayla stood there, alone, for the first time, actually facing the truth. My mom tried to step in, blame me, of course, but Mason shut it down. I'm 18. I've lived my life. I know who was there. No arguing that. No rewriting that. No escaping that. Then he reached into his pocket, pulled something out. That yellow blanket, the one from the beginning, the one that saw everything. He handed it to me, softly, carefully. This belongs to you, he said. You never let go of me, so I'm not letting go of this. And that was it. Not the cake, not the titles, not biology, just truth. Real love doesn't show up when it's convenient. It stays. It sacrifices. It chooses. Every single day. So, if you've ever been the one holding everything together while nobody noticed, just know this. Someone sees it. Someone remembers. And one day, it will matter. If this hit you, you already know what to do. Like, subscribe, and drop a comment, because stories like this, they deserve to be heard.